Chastity Reed ends the suffering for...
And New Orleans' finest, Chastity Reed, Player of the Year. She has a mean face-up game, averaging 21 points in the Sun Belt. They also have to do a better job of containing Chastity Reed, the Player of the Year.
And there's Reed pulling up, knocking it down.
Chastity Reed, a freshman that Joe Foley thinks is going to be a star in this league. At some point in time, he would like for her to be a star today.
Today would be a good day.
So if you got the right kids, and you got, people pushing you, player, personnel, coaches, everybody, okay, this is what it's going to take. So if you want to win, you got the opportunity, but you got to find those kids that want that challenge.
But I started kind of late. Like my first team, well, I was on my elementary school team, but I didn't get to play. When I turned 15 and I made the varsity team at my high school at John Mack in New Orleans, and that was my first year kind of doing something organized, but they couldn't get me to shoot the ball. Like they couldn't get me to shoot the ball at all. I just was super athletic, rebounder, defender, doing, getting steals and doing all these other things. But so I knew I was going to move. I just didn't know I was going to be moving in high school. I moved 1 month before Katrina happened. I had family. All of our belongings were mostly down there because we just kind of moved in a car. Then we were going to go back and get the rest of our stuff. They lost everything. My sister and my dad lost everything. I wasn't actually down there to have to go through that, thank God. Like I got seen when I was a senior. It was the beginning of my senior season by Coach Wheeler, actually. I think he was the first scholarship offer that I got after that tournament. I got like 3 or 4.
She definitely impressed me with just her, her athleticism and how hard she played the game. I mean, she had it in her. She still had a lot of room to grow and things, but you could tell that in high school.
Coach Ritter is the shot doctor.
Here's a three-point attempt by Wheeler, and he bombs.
Greenbrier, Arkansas is celebrating right now.
Yeah, he always had a very nice, beautiful shot. He definitely put some time in with me.
Her freshman season, I think she definitely had to learn the game, learn what her role was for that particular team. I remember in practice seeing things that she, brought to the table in practice that, man, hey, she's going to be all right.
It was definitely a blessing to find myself at this specific college just because this offense works so well for me, and Coach Foley, the way that his mind works is, he's a basketball guru. He's seen a whole lot of basketball over his years, tried a whole lot of different things, seen what works, seen what does not work.
Well, when we first saw her, she was at an AAU event, and Coach come over and said, hey, there's a really good athlete over here. I want you to come watch her play. And it took me about 2 minutes to say, she's good enough to play for us. Yeah. And, you come in and you're averaging 8 or 9, 10 points a game in high school. Well, most kids who go to college, then they average 3 or 4. And if they average 15, they average 8 or 9. Chas is just the opposite. She averaged 8 or 9 in high school. I think it was her junior year. She was the 3rd, 4th leading scorer in the country, averaged 20-something games.
Sure, I remember a big game she had in New Orleans.
Hello, and welcome to Lakefront Arena, located on the East Campus of the University of New Orleans. Within the last 3 years, the arena has undergone...
I can't remember the exact number of points.
43?
It was one of those games where you've seen Larry Bird tell you, hey, I'm going to go over there, and there's nothing you can do. Well, Chas, that's what she was doing to those kids.
You don't see normally when you go on the road, having that type of fan support, and I know she felt it.
We were louder than anything they had going on. The band, anything, they didn't like that. We were, basically was like, our home gym.
Naturally she wanted to play well because all the family was there, and it just, sometimes kids press too much and they don't have a good game.
That was like my high scoring game. And it just felt like whatever I threw up, it couldn't miss that game. So,
there's just those special games that you just know that, hey, she's not going to miss.
Middle Tennessee remedied that really quickly and taught me a lesson that I didn't forget for a long time.
Either one of these teams.
absolutely this is going to be a very hotly contested contest.
Back then, the Sun Belt was pretty dang tough. I mean, Western Kentucky, Middle, and us were all battling. All that, you know, it developed into a great rivalry.
Driving the right side is Lyman with another big shot. On to play Western Kentucky for the title. Out of the corner, big basket by Lyman.
Big time shot.
Defense trying to turn up the wicket a bit here. Got inside to Hope. Down to 2. No help. Now she feeds it into Hope. Middle Tennessee is they're back in the finals again. This is the 6th consecutive year for Middle Tennessee to go to the finals. They've won the last 4. The other one they lost to Western Kentucky, and guess what?
This coach, Rick Insel, he's a great coach. They would take away the main things that you like to do. So they would double team and triple team me and leave 2 girls open, maybe 3 girls open. So the only time that we actually ever beat that team was when I had 10 assists. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. We knew it was going to be a hard game to win, and they came out on top. After that loss, my skin turned clear. I was inside. I never left the house. I was inside until I found out we got a bid. I was down, but you know, that's how it goes.
We got an at-large bid. They beat us, and I was really worried that, you know, for mid-major, it's hard to get at-large.
The appearances meant a lot to me because I really did want that for Coach Foley, because he'd never been before, and I felt like he deserved it. That man put in so much work. He used to be up here breaking down film for hours, sleeping here.
Georgia Tech, they were already griping about having to go to Oklahoma and play on Oklahoma's home floor and have to play them, and so that made it easy to coach. Because all I did, I said, all right, guys, we got what we need. We don't even have to coach anymore.
We don't win the NCAA championship, but just us coming from the Sun Belt and it having been our first time there, it just felt great. It felt great.
When those kids did that, I think it opened the eyes for everybody that this is a possibility. This can be done. You know, I don't think anybody thought Little Rock could do that. You know, for a mid-major to beat a program like Georgia Tech, you know, and first round, that wasn't supposed to happen. And you know, they set the tone for the next 10 years of making this program what it was. When that game was over, I remember they were running by our locker room, and Kim sits and said, "I bet they know where Little Rock is now."
For you know, it's never a fairy tale. It's always unexpected crap that happens your senior season, and you gotta make it through. I wondered if my body would be able to take it, since, you know, I pushed it to its breaking point. To be honest, there's a little bit of a burnout. Injuries had a lot to do with that. Nothing went like I thought that it was gonna go.
Yeah, anytime you get hurt, it takes your focus away.
I wind up putting myself in a cast because they were thinking about doing some surgery on my foot, but my attitude got worse and worse and worse because I just couldn't be there, you know, be a part of the team, be in the kind of shape I like to be in. I just felt like I was heading in a different direction.
Well, you know, and like I say, the kids she was playing with were all great competitors, so they brought it out in each other. Chas kind of went over the line sometimes, and all great players do.
I think it kind of just finally came to a head where I can't be out there, so I'm going to act a little shitty.
She learned from it. I mean, you know, experience is the best teacher. And she went through that experience, and she learned, okay, if I'm going to do this is going to happen every once in a while, so I got to learn how to cope with it.
The Sun Belt Women's Tournament comes to its conclusion this afternoon here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Only 2 teams left standing. Chastity Reed will lead Arkansas Little Rock's Trojans against the Western Kentucky Lady Toppers. The champion will be crowned next here on ESPNU.
It was a heck of a ball game. They were a great team.
They came in and beat like our 20-game win home streak or something, so they were the first ones to come in and beat us here, so we were hella mad about that.
So emotions are high here as we get set for the tip between the Trojans and the
That was such a good game. That was like neck and neck the entire game.
Outside yourself, and you want to bring it every minute of the game.
So the tip is won by...
Everything was happening so fast.
Back time with a takeaway rebound by the Trojans. They get another shot.
It was neck and neck going back and forth.
on the offensive end.
In those moments when you start to think anything else besides what you need to do for the next play is a good chance that you set yourself up to lose.
They push it back out. And McNear with 10 points to go with 4 assists and a great finish.
They deserve that ring. Those girls have to put up with a lot, if I'm being honest. You know, they had the standard that Coach Foley set. They had my standard. You know, they just had to deal with a lot every day. I'm pretty sure it was some days they probably didn't want to come in there, so they definitely deserve that ring. That team was so special. There's so many players that have good college careers, especially at like mid-major levels or, you know, that get forgotten about, and it happened and you move on, whatever. But like once, you know, maybe Nolan Richardson might have started getting involved and coming to games and stuff, I might have noticed like, okay, maybe we are getting some kind of recognition here.
Coach Richardson, I knew him a little bit, not lying. When it came up that I seen where he was my recruiter, I thought, I hope he gives me a call. And sure enough, Coach called me. He said, Coach, he said, tell me about Chaz. I said, all right, Coach. I said, there's 2 coaches that this kid can play for. I said, that's me and you. I said, because you coach like me. And I said, you're going to love coaching me. He said, that's all I need to know.
For draft night, my friends decided that they wanted to throw a draft party. Yeah, but I wouldn't attend. And I'm like, I'm coming from a Sunbelt college. Like, there is a good chance that they won't. Who knows? They might want to pick somebody averaging 7 points from the SEC. And when I got back home, I think Nick was like, yo, you going to WNBA? I was like, what you mean? It was like, yeah, you went in the 3rd round. I was like, oh. I was like, okay, we celebrating tonight. I worked hard that summer up until whenever I had to go into training camp. I definitely felt like I could hang. I was doing more than holding my own. Even for me to make the team was a big thing, just because they don't really take 3rd round draft picks seriously. And I thought about it like a war, and it was even one point that they called the team meeting and told me that they are my teammates and not my enemies. And I'm like, okay.
Nolan Richardson abruptly resigned as the head coach of the Tulsa Shock. He was in his 2nd year with the franchise, and that first season was just as bad.
Oh, I knew I was at the door. Once they told me, you know, normally you get some time to pack your stuff up and, like, you know, take your time. I went home, packed immediately, and left. I left that night. My sister was with me, too. I was like, we hitting the road. So we wound up driving from Tulsa back to Dallas that night, in the middle of the night, listening to Taylor Swift, I remember. My dream has always been to play overseas. I said that since I was like a freshman in high school. So that was always the goal for me. Eleni Kepoyani, who was my coach over there in Greece. He's such a good person and a really great coach. Her and I, our relationship, like, we really did a lot for that team.
I mean, the first week she was in Panathinaikos, you could tell that there is a big difference.
We won the championship. We beat, first of all, we beat this team, Olympiacos. They hadn't been beaten in like 4 or 5 years in the regular season, so we were the first team to beat them in a long time, and then we beat them in the championship to win it all.
So much. Panathinaikos has the best fans in maybe in Europe, but they didn't join this team. In 2.5 months, it was like full house, because she changed the profile of this team.
I have never seen a fan base like this fan base. It's like the working class people, they dead serious.
The fans, they create like a war. They try with all the means to make the opponent team, drop a little bit so they can win the game, to make the referees, have a little fear so they can help the host team.
they come to have a good time at the game, okay? They come to smoke and drink and throw stuff and get on the referees, and especially when we play Olympiacos, is crazy. When you asked me earlier about the most hostile place to play in, that is the most hostile place to play in, literally. Like me and this guy going at it. I can't tell you the words that were said, but blah, 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 blah. He's not even supposed to be near the court. I come back out the tunnel, he throw a cup of water in my face.
You know what she did, man? Did she mention this to you? She went there, what the fuck, boom, and punched him on his face. And then she went to locker room use the WC. So this guy was frozen. You cannot believe. He couldn't never expect in his life that a woman could do. So after a while, the game started okay, and we went on. I heard, because it was from our bench side. I heard somebody, hey, man, don't speak bad about her because she might jump over here and punch you again. And they were laughing at him. So this is a funny story, but it shows that she has no fear for nothing.
Well, at the end of that year, we were beating Olympiacos in the championship, and I got injured. So we wound up getting swept. After that, I went directly into rehabbing. ASAP. That was all my mind was, just because basketball had been such a big part of my life. I was like, I got to get back. But I pushed it. The body needs time to heal, especially what I did to mine. And yeah, it was a struggle. I didn't feel like myself. Only one half my body was working. I had to get an epidural because of the pain that I was in. After the rehab, I went to Turkey. Yeah, that was the last spot I went to.
And you got, people pushing you. And Coach Wardor, that's the reason I wanted him to have the job. And when he said he's going to bring Chas, I said, I think that's great.
When I knew that Coach was on the verge of, contemplating retirement, 2 or 3 years ago, my mind started working on, hey, who would I like to get? And of course, her name just kept, and so I visited with her a couple of times and, just trying to fill her out. It just happened to work out, the year that he did finally retire and decided to do it, that she did retire, and it was a perfect situation. And I knew that, that was the person that I wanted to bring in.
He's a good guy. He wants loyalty. That was the main thing, and I know I can give that. I give that to people that don't deserve it, so I know I'll give it to him because he definitely deserves it.
Chas can do something that most coaches can't. She can still go out and beat those kids. She can still walk out on the floor and beat anybody they got.
And what she brings is just, it's unbelievable. She just brings a lot to the table, and so we're just very fortunate that we have her here.
Well, it shows you it can be done here. And that's the key, is that it can be done here. So if you got the right kids and you got, people pushing you, we know how to do it. Coach has been around. He's seen how we did it. Chas has done it. So if you want to win, you got the opportunity. But you got to find those kids that want that challenge.
We have a saying to kill the player inside and start thinking as a coach. But I don't believe that Chas will have a hard time with this, because as a player, she had a coaching mind.
What I always wanted our kids to see was how much I loved it. If you're not going to love what you're doing, don't do it.
When I'm watching these hundreds of films, I really wish that we could give all of them scholarships. I want these women to succeed, but I feel like if you give them to me, I can make them better. I just feel like it's potential there, and I could get it out of them. So,
and that would be one thing I'd want to figure out, how to motivate kids and make them fall in love playing the game while they got the opportunity to play.
She's pure. You know what you have in front of you, which is very important. She's a great friend, and I want to send her my love, my respect, because now she's my friend, and I hope this friendship lasts for a lifetime.
I love that I got to coach her. We butted heads more than any player I ever coached. That's fine. That's fine. You know, everybody, I love the kid to death.
I've matured a lot, and I think I am lucky to be here, but also I feel like I belong here. I feel like I belong. It feels like home. I'm very heavily invested in Little Rock women's basketball. Definitely, I have a lot of room to still grow, but I feel like we're going to be successful. I feel like we're trying to change the culture to what it needs to be.
I'm telling you, this girl has a star over her head, and we say it's from God. She's shining. Whatever she will do, she does, she will shine. I'm 100% sure.